Welcome to the Complete Performance Improvement Process Introduction. This is a W. Edwards Deming consistent performance management system, and it's specifically geared to support Six Sigma and lean organizations in order to create the right environment of trust, openness, engagement, and quality improvement. What is the purpose of CPIP? The main purpose is to create a safe meeting environment. This environment would optimize the performance and the career decisions that are made both by the employee and the manager. This environment needs to be optimized with trust, and only then can we get to accountability and the best results possible. Why is CPIP so important? Well, the traditional performance management systems continuously receive poor ratings from human resource professionals and managers alike. They attempt to evaluate individual performance, and this results in failure to achieve the main purposes of performance management, which is reaching the performance goals, improving communication, and improving the relationship between the employee and the supervisor. It also damages employee engagement. So CPIP is important because what we want to do is optimize employee engagement. We can't do it with the current traditional performance management systems. Also, it helps to optimize the learning of the employee and the manager both, and it helps to create a strategic advantage for the organization. How does CPIP work? Well, in contrast to the typical performance management system, it does not attempt to improve the individual. The individual needs to improve themselves. Instead, it focuses on improving the quality of the interpersonal interactions and the quality of the systems interactions, both between the employee and their colleagues, and the employee and the manager, and vice versa. This optimizes the learning, and it optimizes the engagement of the employee because they don't feel criticized. In the theory of profound knowledge by W. Edwards Deming, Deming considered the evaluation of the individual a waste of time and a deadly disease. And so CPIP focuses on the interactions, not the individual. One of the first steps in CPIP is to set strategic objectives, communicate those to everyone involved, because this provides part of the context of why you're going to have a discussion. The next step in CPIP is the preparation and planning by both the manager and the employee. This is where both the manager and the employee complete what's called the relationship self-assessment checklist and the system opportunity checklist. Copies of these are available upon request. The purpose of the relationship self-assessment checklist is to assess the current condition of the relationship between the manager and the employee. They do this separately, and then they compare notes, and you'll see an example coming up. The relationship self-assessment checklist is critical because studies show that people leave managers, they don't leave organizations. So if we want optimum employee engagement, we have to know the quality of the relationship and the quality of the interpersonal interactions between the employee and the manager, and that's what these 10 questions assess. The system opportunity checklist assesses the current condition of the match between the employee's skills and their current job role. This is critical also for employee engagement. Here's an example of the system opportunity checklist, and you'll notice that the questions revolve around how is the system impacting the employee. The typical performance management system looks at only the employee and doesn't assess effectively and with minimum variation the impact that the system has on the performance of the individual. This checklist helps the manager and the employee to act as partners to remove any barriers, to identify and remove any barriers to performance improvement for the individual. Now the manager and the employee are ready for the meeting, and so the meeting is called, and in the very beginning, the manager and the employee give what's called white flag feedback. This is about feedback about specific behaviors that have been identified that generate trust between individuals in the culture of the organization. And these specific behaviors are checked. First, the manager receives feedback, and then the employee receives feedback next. None of this goes in the file. This is all about discussion. This is all about learning. Next, the manager and the employee review the data from the relationship self-assessment checklist, and they look at the gaps for each question. They look at the low ratings, and they discuss, how are we going to make this better? How can we partner together to make this work better between the two of us? Again, none of this goes in the file. This is all about discussion, about learning, and about trust. After the discussion about the relationship self-assessment checklist, the manager and the employee move on to the system opportunity checklist. Ideally, the trust level is higher. Now the employee and the manager can look at the ratings for each of the questions about how the system is impacting the individual, and talk about the gaps, talk about the low ratings, and make agreements about how they move forward to identify or remove these barriers that are preventing a performance improvement for that individual. As in any challenging performance discussion, sometimes there are challenges that come up and there are conflicts that come up, and that's why there are trust-building tools available to continue to manage this safe environment in order to discuss the gaps, identify the barriers, and remove the barriers for performance improvement. The whole idea is for the employee and the manager to partner to figure out what they can do differently together as a team to make things work better. The great skill that's needed here is facilitation of agreements. This is where the manager and the employee become better and better at figuring out what agreements do we need to make career decisions, training decisions, improve our strategic objectives, or to work on goals that will help us to reach the strategic objectives, or whatever it might be that needs to happen in order to make things better, either the interpersonal interactions better or the systems interactions better. What are the agreements? This is a key skill that both the manager and the employee now must develop in order to make these meetings go well. And this carries them forward, and they can use this skill on an ongoing basis in every interaction, every discussion moving forward. Thank you for reviewing the CPIP introduction. Please check out the website and ask questions. Be happy to send you more information. Thank you.